Hi Zoe,
Hi,
I'm
Liz.
very happy that you managed to join us. I am very fan of your work, especially your recent project, and I hope we can shed some light on it. Um, uh, how are you today?
I'm very well, Liz. It's a warm, lovely day here in South Africa. It's technically winter, but it's 22 degrees. The sun's out. It's a beautiful day. We're in our third lockdown right now. But we've closed our dojo, so it's a little bit quiet this side, but we're grateful that we're still here. And it's given us a chance to work on other things as well while we wait this third wave out.
Cool. We're in lockdown as well. Hopefully they're gonna open us about 2 or 3 weeks.
We've been following very closely what's happening in the UK. I've got a lot of family there, and we worry as well, even though you guys have got more vaccines than we do.
Yeah, I just had my Monday, second one.
Wonderful.
Hopefully.
So jealous.
Hopefully it's gonna get. Your YouTube channel exploded last year.
Yeah, that's very kind to say. It's only 3,000 subscribers. It's a baby channel.
Yeah,
but we try.
Ahead of mine, so it's good. and your presence suddenly online boomed as well. You're doing projects with Bugeisha and other people.
Yes.
Could you share your background, what you do, how did you get involved in martial arts and so on?
Great. So I actually started martial arts when I was 11. I was one of those kids that got bullied at school. I had bad teeth, I had bad eyes, I was a nerd. So it's like the holy trifecta for attracting bullies. So I started with judo, did that for a few years, changed schools, no more judo, sad. Then when I got to university, I discovered Goju Ryu. So I actually started karate late, 19, although I know many of the big sensei started at 19. And I became a deshi here at Goju Ryu Karate Center, and I ended up marrying Shay. And now we run our dojo together and our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is also actually a result of being forced to close at the first wave. And, we'd said for years we should have a YouTube channel, we should try out for our kids. Actually to it. And it's been an amazing learning curve. It's actually like I've gotten to be part of your bubble, and speaking from one anxious black belt to another, it's been such a great journey. It's actually quite a relief because in South Africa, there's very much it's like machismo. No one's depressed, everyone's fine. I'm a strong man. So for another martial artist to acknowledge anxiety and using karate for mental health, for me, that's incredible. So yes, COVID sucks, but it has brought me amazing opportunities in the karate world. My work with Bugeisha and why we are chatting on this podcast is, why do so many girls leave karate? And why so many women start and don't stay? And our dojo, which is an actively feminist dojo, we're only 30% female, despite our very best efforts. I'm sure you have a higher percentage in your dojo. I was looking at your website, the wonderful testimonials from women students. What's your gender split in your dojo?
It's actually changed last week, but okay. usually I've got a minimum of 50%. It depends what dojo we're looking at. For my meditation karate for meditation, I've got 95% of women.
Wow,
so
that's amazing.
For 16 people.
Wow.
One man for 16 people at the moment.
He's a thorn amongst the roses. Look, meditation is incredibly important practice. I'm also starting to get into mindfulness now. I use an app called Medito, which is, the free compared to Calm and Headspace, which can get quite expensive, but it's an important part of our practice. So let me not go on tangents. I'm the champion of going on tangents. So, I was talking about why do girls leave karate? And a lot of the statistics I found were in the UK. So maybe you can collaborate on this. Get my paperwork. So there was the one thing in the UK, it's very interesting. It was done by the Women in Sports Association, Women in Sport Research. So they reckon that only 10% of girls aged between 13 and 16 actually do sport, which is shocking. And that's in a very developed country with a lot of bodies actively working on this. So, and then it talks about 60% of girls aged 11 to 16 know a girl, young woman who's experienced a mental health problem. I think that's very much your area, and we'll talk about it later, I hope, where there's amazing overlap where karate can help girls with anxiety and to help keep them in the dojo, where we know that there's so many benefits for them, but we have to figure out why they're leaving. And the other thing is that I thought was very interesting is this perception of sport, and karate suffers from this as well, is that karate is for men. Karate is for boys, which is nonsense. And it's only for like big, strong guys. But if you look at Jishin Funakoshi, and again, Miyagi was a little bit of like a solid man, but Funakoshi was tiny. Morihei Oshiba of Aikido was tiny. Like there's this idea that you have to be big and strong and manly is ridiculous. And Goju Ryu, through White Crane, can actually trace its roots to a woman, to Fang Zhuan. But we don't talk about her. And she was this incredible martial artist who like had many male challenges, and she defeated all of it. So it's important for us as instructors, and especially you as a male instructor, as an ally, to address how we can change this and how we can get more girls to stay. The same very interesting study they did, where was the number about the sports bras? So this is interesting. This is in a UK survey of 2,089 girls aged between 11 to 18. And one of the reasons they don't want to train is actually as their bodies change, they get so uncomfortable because they're not taught how to buy the right bra or how to deal with menstruation, how to make themselves more comfortable. So they, instead of having that conversation, and they're too scared to have that conversation, they just leave. And especially if there's no female role models in the dojo. So I have an amazing bunch of teenagers coming up behind me, and one of my goals is to replace myself with 20 female instructors before I die. That's one of my goals. And they come to me and they're like, Sensei, karate is sore, how can I fix it? Now they have a woman to approach, but most dojos they don't. And it's up to men to educate themselves on how they can help these girls. So I found that fascinating. And when I spoke to a bunch of other women who'd quit karate, one of them was taekwondo, and there was also a judo girl, and they said the same thing. Like their bodies changed and the sport didn't accommodate. Or they were doing competition and they were expected to maintain a low weight. So I think competition is especially hard on girls in the martial arts world. And you're obsessed with weight categories, and that leads to disordered eating, which is a mental health issue in and of itself.
Yeah, I've got a big issue with losing weight in all sports.
Absolutely.
I think it should be done. You should be on your own. I done once losing weight. I lost weight when I was 18. I dropped down from 62 to 58, and I was stuck on 58 till my 30s, nearly. I couldn't put back on, and because with the wrestling as well, it's huge emphasis on losing weight. All the ways you can, tablets,
so dangerous
area and stuff like that, sweating it out, and I think it's just harming humans' body. I think it should be illegal, but that's the
it should be. There was that MMA guy, that young Asian guy, I forget his name, who died from cutting weight, and because MMA is also obsessed with the carve and the cut and the look. And I don't want karate. One of the things I love about karate is that the uniform kind of flattens all of us. So it doesn't matter how you look. I've got girls who do gymnastics, and I find it incredibly disturbing how so much of it is about smiling, looking perfect, and the very sexualized outfits. A German gymnast for the first time in April 2021, this year, wore pants and wasn't penalized. Now, the boys can wear pants, but the girls have to wear these very high-cut sequin tops. They even mandate the maximum width of the leotard over the private parts. And why? Isn't it about the gymnastics? What has it got to do with what she's wearing? So I think in karate, one of the things we should advocate to girls is that at least no one cares how you look. No one should care. You don't have to wear makeup. You don't have to smile and look pretty and perform. We would want to see the quality of your karate, which has got nothing to do with, you can be a skinny girl, strong girl, big girl. In fact, the stronger and bigger you are, especially with Goju Ryu specifically as a style, the better you are at karate. If you're thin, you're going to struggle with Hojo Undo and muscle mass. So, and especially for boys, I think, and for young men who are also experiencing much more body dysmorphia. I even have some 9 and 10-year-old boys saying, Sensei, I'm fat. I'm like, excuse me, who told you you're fat? And the girls, especially now on Instagram, and you look at the WKF karate feed, there's a couple of them. And it's only the thin, pretty girls that are ever on that feed. So it tells, even women like me, I look at that, I'm like, I don't look like that. I don't have the beautiful hair and the perfect face and this thin. But what's the message that WKF is sending? Only those girls are good enough to do karate.
Yeah,
and that's unfortunate.
That is very annoying when you see the pictures, and it's always karate girls with trousers on and the bikini tops, or sports bra.
My worst. With the karate suit hanging open and the bra underneath. I want to die.
Yeah, but it's just wrong. I think Ian Abernathy had a last year nice picture of him going like, ooh.
Yes, I love that. I was like, yes, sir. Yes, that's the kind of, and that leads us nicely into male allies and male advocacy. Because yes, women, we've been saying this. We're like, please let us in. Please include us. And a lot of the male instructors like, okay, you can bring the oranges to the party. Like you can bring the cake to the instructors meeting, but your voice is not heard. I mean, women get constantly spoken over, constantly worked out the system. But when big instructors like that say something, it sparked a conversation. And actually, because of that, I went to go look at the Instagrams of all the big karate schools. I was like, oh, it's got a very good point. Like one of my female instructor friends, Sensei Emma, she is a fourth Dan. She is a very accomplished local competitor in kata. She is a data engineer, so she's incredibly smart. They do an article on her dojo. What do they call her? Karate girl. Not karate instructor, karate girl. I've never heard a male instructor referred to as karate boy. And every time you look up her name, that karate girl article comes up. And I said to her, I'm like, I'm so sorry they did this to you. And she's like, I know, I hate it. They didn't even tell me. They didn't even send the article past me before they published it. So, that kind of advocacy coming from bigger instructors like yourself, because I was looking at your website and you work a lot with disability inclusion in martial arts. Where do you feel there is positive overlap between how you make disabled students feel welcome and how we can make girls feel welcome? What barriers have you overcome as an instructor, or things you've changed in your dojo that have helped people feel welcome?
It's actually funny because on the subject of women, I never thought about it until I came up on something online a few years ago. Because in my dojo, I don't know, maybe because I'm small and kind of fragile in appearance, I always had full dojo of women. I always had more women than men in my dojos. So I never thought there's a problem.
Yes.
When I start speaking with people, say like, well, you got only 2 girls and 30 guys. Well, how is that working? And I always had at least 50% of girls training dojo. And then I start speaking with done a series of martial marriage and women in martial arts, and they start unveiling, what the barriers for girls are.
Yes.
And I never thought about the problem of a white gi, but I never had menstruation in my life, and
exactly.
I just don't think about this. But when the girls start bringing it in, can we wear black gi, or can we wear this, like more comfortable trousers, different color? For me, never was a problem. Yeah, sure. But, I'm just hearing now that other instructors, we're allowing black gis because of that reason. Why would you not allow it earlier?
But which just goes to show that in many ways, so Sensei Miyazato, who started OGKK, in his book writes that black gis are dirty. Like you can't have a black gi. So that's why we're not really allowed to wear a black gi. I love my black karate suit. I will confess right here, my black gi is my favorite. When I'm teaching for 5 to 6 hours, 6 days a week, and I'm on my knees working with the kids, and sometimes I do Cubs karate, so I'm playing with them and I'm rolling on the floor to show them something. Like a black gi is great. I wish I could wear my black gi all the time, but for gradings and when I go to Gashiku, obviously it's like pure white. And because the Japanese believe like your gi should be spotless. Now, part of that is all those karate men had wives who took care of their karate suits. They didn't have to worry about washing their suits. So I have one of the girls in my dojo came with a workaround. When it's her period, she wears black cycling shorts under her gi. So she feels more comfortable. I would actually love to start my own karate suit range and specifically for women. The only gi that's for women is Karate by Jessie, and it's twice the price of a Sharado. It's a very, very expensive, it's unaffordable. If I was to bring that suit here to my country, by the time I've paid customs and everything, it's 3 or 4 times my current suit. I could buy 4 or 5 gis for that price. So I want to make one that's also got, so I think some of the male viewers will get squeamish, but this is important information. There's special period underwear that's very absorbent. I would love to line a woman's karate suit, the pants, with that. Because then they can train with a little bit more comfortable, feel a little bit more liberated, and not have to be like at the back of the class. So there's something, I know the UK experiences, we experience it more. It's something called period poverty. Girls can't afford pads or tampons. They miss days of school because of it. Think about all the times, like some girls I know miss a week of karate every month because they're in too much pain, they're too embarrassed, they're not comfortable. And the knock-on effect over the long term is eventually they're going to quit. And it's something we could discuss openly and avoid. And if an instructor like you isn't accessible and they feel like, okay, I can talk, my dog is rude. Magnus! Crazy German Shepherd of mine. I hope he's not too loud on your side. Otherwise, I may have to run away. And I'm just going to text my deshi while we talk to tell him. So we have an in-house deshi at the moment, which is very nice. And I'm raising him to be a good feminist deshi. Bring Maggie.
Yeah, I really don't understand why people, actually on one of the forums the other day was the question from the woman runs it. I was questioned about should the girls, men instructors talk about menstruations and women problems.
Absolutely.
I'm thinking, where is that's the bodily stuff.
Yeah.
We should learn that in school. Why is it a taboo?
Exactly.
You know, you've got a wife. Your wife's got that every month. You're dealing with it. You should know about it. You've got I've got a daughter. So you know, if my wife can't talk to her, I have to talk to her, and it shouldn't be something I'm embarrassed about it because that's just giving a wrong impression to the girl. So I'm puzzled with what people can do. But you know,
being ashamed of sneezing.
Yeah.
You know, it is deeply rooted in misogyny. It is very much like anything to do with women is disgusting, you know, and I think about, it's not just periods, but like also women who are pregnant as well. So I was able to train through my pregnancy. And yes, I own a dojo. Well, my husband owns a dojo, we co-own it. But I was able to come back to karate after pregnancy because it's my job. But I think about all the women who drop out after pregnancy. And you know how hard it is to train while you're pregnant because no one knows how to deal with you. I was treated like spun glass. I was treated like I was made out of cotton candy. Meanwhile, historically, women evolutionary used to run and hunt and do all sorts of things while pregnant. It's actually better the more active you are. And I credit my activity during pregnancy. I was back on the mat and training within a week of giving birth because I was so strong still. I hadn't done bed rest. I used a lot of Sanshin and kata, Sanshin and Tensho kata because it didn't require me to lean forward. I couldn't do Sayunshin because I kept falling forward with my changed center of gravity. And it's important for instructors to be like, welcome back here. As soon as you're ready to come back, accommodate you. You need somewhere quiet to breastfeed, we'll make sure the dojo is cleared out for you, or, you know, like be more accommodating of that.
Yeah, but
because it's not karate because they've had a baby. In fact, sorry?
Sorry, you just broken up a little bit. I was going to say that overlaps with mental health as well, because, you know, nobody is worried about saying, oh, I've got a broken arm, but not many people say, well, hey, my brain is working fine. I need to go see a doctor. You guys are ashamed that you've got a problem in the brain or something is wrong.
Yeah.
And you go in secrecy to the doctors, and going into the karate world, people feel that, oh, I shouldn't say that in martial art world because it puts me as a disadvantaged, weaker person. And that's what we team up with Ian, actually, that bringing that karate for mental health. You know, we as men, strong, need to speak about it. That, you know, it's all right to cry.
Absolutely.
For a guy, it's okay to not be super manly, because it's fine. You know, you are who you are. And coming back to your question about the barriers, here from my students, it's that being not judged. And what I do, I'm welcoming people, showing my vulnerability. So when they're coming in,
Yes.
I ask, what's your problem? And actually, before they start telling me their problem, I say, well, listen, I've got an anxiety. I've been on the lower end of it as well. I dug up myself with karate. That helped me. You are welcome here. Nobody's going to judge you. And I make effort that my student, I hate when I'm going to the groups and there are subgroups, there's people talking on all this talking and they don't mix. I always make sure that all my students go and welcome the new person and, make them feel like in family. And that helps, that welcoming and non-judgmental environment does the job, at least for me.
The work you do is so important, Les, because in the UK, one of the leading causes of death for men is suicide.
Yeah.
Especially over a certain age. And that's incredibly heartbreaking. And it comes from, just as the patriarchy ruins life for women, it actually ruins life for men. Because we've told men that if you cry, you're like weak, you're a woman. Yeah. Why? What greater sign of strength? If you read any of the Greek novels, Achilles wept so hard that they could hear him at the bottom of the ocean. All these manly men weeping throughout the Iliad. And we have a history of crying. It is the most healthy thing to do. But we've crushed it. And I see it all the time with young teenage boys who you can see on the verge of going crazy. But, when you bring it up there, they're like, no, I'm fine, sensei. I don't want to talk about it. And we have to keep opening that door. And by showing your own vulnerability, like the other day, I told my kids I had to excuse myself because obviously with COVID being so bad here, I'd just received like 10 messages that day of students who were sick in isolation. And it was like the 3,000th time I'd had to beg students to put their masks on properly. And I had to excuse myself and I had a breakdown, quite a little breakdown outside. And I came back in and I said, I want you to know that this is something I struggle with. You can be anxious and it doesn't make you any less of a person. I'm still your sensei. I'm still here. I just needed time to collect myself. I'm back now. If you want to talk about it, we can talk about it. I needed them to see that you can be anxious, but it doesn't mean you're useless, that you can't be a part of society. As anxiety is a human condition. So I think if we can carve that space for them, I think that's incredibly valuable in the long run.
Sure, that's kind of overlapping as well. You're saying that men can cry. It's kind of the other side of the coin of girls being girly and being shown, as feminine on social media. And now you've got the image of the men who are unrealistically built up to be a bodybuilder.
Yes.
And, that perception of that you can be like that. No, you cannot be like that.
Exactly.
Certain amounts of steroids and, dedicate yourself, surgery or whatever.
Personal trainers.
Yeah.
So a lot of people look at, a good example is Chris Pratt. He went from being chunky in Parks and Recreation, then he got cut to being Guardians of the Galaxy. And people are like, I can do that transformation. I'm like, you don't have a personal trainer, a personal chef, maybe the genetic disposition. A lot of that is genetics. You can't fight that. People like Chris Hemsworth and that are going to look like that no matter what they do. They're just naturally very built. It's good for them. It's easy for them, actually. But for young boys, and I think this is where we're seeing their body dysmorphia coming in, they think they have to look like that for girls to like them. Because why else would you want to look like that? I mean, to give up all the good food in life, never eat a pizza again. Why? So, and those guys are also, when they film, they're at 7% body fat. They're dehydrated. There was a picture of Jason Momoa, who plays Aquaman, of when he's not filming. And he's got a little bit, like the tiniest little stomach. But it's normal. It's normal fat that you build on top of your organs so you don't die. And people are like, he's let himself go. He's got a dad bod. I'm like, but that's a normal human body. Like, shame. He can't even have a normal body and he gets crucified for it. And it's the same way that girls also are expected to be effortlessly beautiful, wear makeup. I had girls ask me if they could wear makeup to the dojo. I'm like, why? You're beautiful as you are. You're also 9 years old. Why do you want to wear makeup? Where's this pressure coming from that they feel they have to wear makeup to the dojo?
Yeah, my wife, I've seen her only once in the makeup on my wedding. I barely recognize her. Who's that?
Yeah.
But
makeup is witchcraft. I've seen myself with makeup. I'm like,
I call it a misselling, including the Wonder Bra as well. It's all mis-selling.
Oh yeah, very much so. What else did I have? So no, you know what? I just think it's so interesting that we can have these conversations, but also the things that we do to keep girls in the dojo can also help boys stay in the dojo, and also hopefully maybe help our queer youth feel welcome in the dojo as well. You know, it is Pride Month. No, sorry, Pride Month is just over. It's 1st of July today. But some of these things about making people feel included applies to people of minority groups, LGBTQIA plus. You know, if we make people feel like they have a voice and they have a place in the dojo. So one of the things one of the things on my long ass list of ways to keep kids in the dojo is emphasizing moments of pride, not winning. So this is my problem with tournament karate. It becomes about meddling, which is not what karate is about. And then those people feel like if they're not getting gold medals, they're not worthy anymore, which is wrong. I mean, I've never won a medal in my life. Doesn't mean I'm less of a karate practitioner. And so giving students these moments of pride. So every time they grade that new stripe, that new belt, if you as sensei say, please, to one of the girls, I'd like you to take warm-ups today. And by you showing that trust in them, you're showing the whole dojo, like, I trust this girl or this woman to do warm-ups for me or to help me demonstrate. Or like one of the ways I felt very included and very proud when I was doing Aikido is that I would be asked to fold my sensei's hakama after class. You know, I would do that like a religious act. I took that folding the hakama so seriously because I knew what it meant for him to hand over that responsibility. Something like that. Those are ways that we can help girls feel more welcome. Instead of like defaulting. Yes, I'm listening.
Because I'm gonna forget. So we had that thing. I've got one of my best students is Raquel. I call her because she's small, but she drags big men to the floor and beat them up. And I record quite often videos with her as my partner. And somebody commented, "Oh, why you wanna show it on a bigger person? Show it that it works." Well, I'm not always gonna be attacked by the bigger person. I'm not always standing with a bigger person, and I'm just showing you that she can throw me about.
Yes.
I'm bigger than her, and I'm acknowledging that she is the higher level than everybody else in my dojo because she puts up the work.
Absolutely.
Natural talent to that, and she's angry. She is angry, and she, you know, so you know, like you said, we have to bring different people. I like to bring everybody to my videos. You know, a white belt, autistic person. My last series is Adani, my one of the best students who is on autistic spectrum, holding pads for me. You know, at times clumsy, but I give him that acknowledgement that he's doing a great job.
Absolutely.
And you know, I'm kind of looking from opposite side. What you say about the rewards for winning. I'm going more with a controlled failure. So learning.
Yes,
the same thing. You're going to the competition you lost. It's not you're not a failure. You just haven't learned yet how to win. So take it and go learn more, and then you're gonna achieve more.
So very much so. Controlled failure is an important thing, especially since there's something about it's like the good girl. So girls are like told, and the difference between how we talk to girls and how we talk to boys. So girls always get praised for being smart, for being well behaved. And the minute we come up against something that's difficult, we tend to quit because we've always been told, if you're not good at something, you're not good enough. I am one of those girls. You know how long it took me to start running? Because I ran once as a kid. I was like, oh, this sucks. I suck. I'll never be good at it. So I stopped running. Eventually, it was with the courage I got from karate that I was able to start running. And within 2 years, I was doing ultra marathons, but only because I'd become used to failure and used to things sucking. You get used to, you get like accustomed to messing up a technique and getting that feedback. But when it's delivered with care from an instructor, you're like, oh, okay, so it's just a mistake. It's not a life-altering thing. We have to teaching students that it is a mistake. You are not the mistake. But unfortunately, they conflate the two. And that's so bad for their mental health. You're right. Controlled failure is just as important, if not more important.
I like to give an example to people, how many children you see that they went falling over, they went, no, I'm never gonna walk again, I'm
Yeah.
rubbish, I'm gonna be crawling everywhere. How many adults you see crawling everywhere? Because
Yeah,
that's not in us. In us is the overcoming the failure. It's not a failure, it's just this.
absolutely.
But somewhere along I know that I was suffering with this a lot. When I done something wrong, it was end for me, that's it. I'm a failure. And I didn't have that many people at that time telling me that, no, it's just that, don't worry about it. It's done. Put it in the past,
Yeah.
forward. I have to say, I do not understand you. Who would want to run? Proper people don't walk everywhere. Running is not good, not good. I used to run a lot when I was like 18, 20s, and I absolutely hate it. I don't know why. But each to their own.
I love running. I think for me, a lot of the lessons that came from running came from karate. I incorporated into my running, and then vice versa. So when I started running marathons, that was when I realized, like, I always thought marathons were like for these amazing people who are like great athletes. But here was me, who got picked last for every single sport in school. Like, I hated sport at school because I was that nerdy kid, uncoordinated. And the worst, you just eventually you develop this label, you incorporate it into yourself. Like, I will always be the kid that sucks at sports. I will always be clumsy. And the other day I realized I'm not clumsy at all anymore. I don't drop things. I used to, but it's gone, obviously, because of karate and coordination. So we write these scripts for ourselves. And it helps when your sensei helps you rewrite that script. And I especially see with girls who are very obsessed with perfection. I'm like, you have to make mistakes. You have to fall forward. You will improve. It's like that Rumi quote. If every rub irritates you, how will your mirror be polished? And karate is a nice way to get those little failures, those constant little polishing until your spirit shines. And you realize you can handle anything. And that, I think, is the great power we can give girls.
Yeah, I found it recent. I've got few guys now, and actually a girl as well, joining me from a different system, and we do completely different things, and I do it different ways, and they feel lost. And I can see how detrimental to them it is. So nearly on every lesson, I have to remind them, listen, I'm doing this 25 years my way, and I'm good at it. You're doing it a second session, and you're getting upset. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
It's just give it a time. You're going to take a couple of years to readjust. Enjoy the process. Nobody's judging you. I'm not going to tell you go away because you have this session correctly or whatever. It's just, it's a lesson that we're going all through. I'm going to your class and I'm going to suck at it.
Yes.
Because my pathway is different than yours. And you just change. It's funny for me because I like to show that. So we're doing, let's say, a sequence of blocks. So you're going a Soto Coach Gedanbarai.
Yeah.
And I go somewhere and I tell somebody, let's do it now. Uchiuke Soto Gedanbarai Jodan, okay? And I suck at it at speed because my brain wants to do it my way. And people seems to be not understanding that the habits are in us, and to change a habit is much worse than learn from the beginning. And here the problem lies as well with women and men, because we're coming into the environment of martial arts pre-taught. You're a girl, you're a boy, you do this, you do that. And then our instructors, at least mine, is to try to wipe that out. Yeah? Yes. You are in the dojo, you are a person. For me, there's no religion in the dojo, there's no politics in the dojo. There's courtesy and respect, which doesn't mean
absolutely
how to say it, because you have to distinguish between a girl and a boy in a way that you cannot put 150 kilo guy with a 60 kilo girl and say you are the same, go full
absolutely
on. So you are equal, but you need to be aware what you are, if that makes sense.
No, it does. So what we've been focusing on is, instead of equal treatment, is equitable treatment. I treat each student as they need to be treated. So for example, let's use grading. There is this standard, you need to know this kata. Let's say all the students need to know Gekisai H. Now, this student has a severe learning disability. They can just get through the kata, but for them, that's huge. That's amazing. And then this student who is ridiculously talented but lazy coasts through the grading. They're like, whatever. And their attitude sucks. Of course, I'm going to praise and reward and celebrate the student who is trying harder with less. So if I was to treat them equally, then I'd fail the student with the learning disability and pass the talented one. But that's not fair. I can't compare them against each other. I can only compare the student. For example, I had a girl who, when she arrived here, was so shy. Like, she hung on the back of my belt for 3 weeks, like a little shadow behind me. She was so scared. 6 months later, she was doing kata at a tournament in front of hundreds of people. So for her, that was so big. And other kids were like, whatever, I deserve this kind of attention from the day they're born. So I treat them all as they each need to be treated and not the same. You can't treat everyone the same. You can't treat a pregnant woman the same way you're going to treat a rugby player and give them the same weights to work with. That's ridiculous. But you're not demeaning either of them. I think that's where people think, like, if you treat a woman differently, you're demeaning her. I want to be treated as I need to be treated. You know, don't coddle me and be like, oh, shame. Like, my worst is when they're like, we're going to do lady push-ups. I'm like, they're not lady push-ups. They're half push-ups on the knees. Don't call them lady push-ups. Because there's some men who can't do a push-up.
Yeah.
So they're going to do it on their knees so they can learn. So it's things like that. And you've got that 100% when you say, like, you were using the autistic students in your video. Now, you're not expecting them to do, like, you know, Olympic level karate. That's not fair. They can't get there. But the fact that you give them representation and visibility and a task to do, and you're treating them as human and not as some inconvenience or burden on the system, that is what matters. Not holding them to the same ridiculous standard that you'd hold a talented kid.
Yeah. We actually had a conversation yesterday with my wife. She is just like you describe your friend. So she's a martial art teacher, second dan. She's an engineer, and she's a mom as well. So she had a quite long break from karate, but it was her decision. And we've been talking yesterday. In my dojo, I don't take belts away. So I have most of my dojo, 90% of my dojo are people who came from something else. And we've got lots of different colors. Even if I don't have that color, I allow them to wear. But then there's the perception that, you know, I've got black belts who suck at the stuff we do. And sometimes people walking through the glass what we're doing, and they say, oh, look, this black belt is rubbish. So that school might be rubbish. But nobody thinks about it. You take it personally and you adjust the curriculum and syllabus to the person what they need. So I don't like to take away from people because, you know, some people are really attached to their belts in a positive way. You know, I achieved that. Why should I take it off? You know, I'm here to train and not necessarily want to do your stuff, but I don't necessarily want to subscribe to your club, but I want like to experience your way. So therefore, if I tell them you have to go white belt, it might feel a bit diminishing, you know. Why should I take it off? I earn it. So I like to keep it. But then there's this perception that, you know, oh, this is rubbish, this is good. Why this white belt is better than black belt? Because I don't force people to grade. If they want to, they do. We've got two ways in our dojo. You either train and just train, or you go through all the loops and hoops and whatever. And that's part of mental health as well for me. You know, I cannot put people down. I don't want, not I cannot, I don't want the parts of me. So I like to have people freedom to do what they want to do and how to do, if that makes sense.
No, so that's exactly it. You are a fountain, not a drain. So you don't want people to feel like you're taking away their hard work, because, and acknowledging that, they're more likely to stay. We had the same thing. We had a student who was in a terrible, terrible car crash when he was 14. Like, they said he died for 2 minutes, and they told his parents he's never going to walk, he's never going to leave the bed, he's going to be in a wheelchair, he's paralyzed from the neck down. Just commit him to a facility and leave him. He's finished. And his parents refused, because he was in a phenomenal young black belt when he had the accident. And he eventually did rehab, and he came back to the dojo and he could barely walk. When he got his black belt 7 years later, everyone, we knew what an amazing achievement that was. But yeah, like someone walks past your dojo, they'll be like, you gave that guy a black belt, but you don't know their context. And that's not fair, because for him to even remember a kata with all the brain damage is massive.
Yeah.
So yeah, opinions are like, opinions are like buttholes. Everyone has one.
Yeah. So you customized your curriculum and class to each student as well? Because I've got people with staff and stuff, and kind of was learning on the job what works, what doesn't work. But in my dojo, it might be 5 different combination of the adaptation of the same combination going on at the time. You doing that as well, yeah?
Yes, so we actually are getting a lot of kids who have been written off as ADHD. The schools are like, we can't deal with them, just medicate them and make them manageable. And we don't believe in that. We believe that being neurodivergent, that there's being neurotypical shouldn't be the minimum or the barrier to entry for karate. Like if you are ADHD, if you have a learning disability, we have a student who's deaf in one ear, karate should be for everyone. Where is it written in any of the books by the big martial artists? You read Funakoshi's My Way of Life. Nowhere in those books does it say, okay, to do karate, you must be a white male, neurotypical, strong, 6 foot tall. Where? It's not written anywhere.
Yeah, it's quite funny because, white male, you look at them, they're all Asian. So
exactly.
where that come from, It just, and actually I wrote the
just become dominated.
Yeah, I wrote the article about Funakoshi because if you look on his description of his condition when he started, it's just a guesswork. But I can relate.
Yes, I remember that article.
An anxiety, But
absolutely.
When stomach upset, being weak, don't want to do it. It just fits, but it might not be, just my guesswork. But
no, I don't think that you're projecting. Not at all. I think it's quite likely that it's just there was no term for it back then. Even now, like we still have a lot of people like, I get my own family telling me, you're fine. You have no real problems. How can you be anxious? What's wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't choose to feel this way. Why would I choose this? Why would I choose to feel like I'm terrified inside my own body? This is not a choice. This is not for funsies. This is not attention seeking. And maybe we need to replace the term attention seeking with support seeking.
Yeah.
With students who are cutting, with students who are depressed, with students who are saying things to like, Sensei, I just wish I was dead. They're not looking for attention. They're looking for help. And sometimes Sensei is the only person they feel they can talk to.
Yeah.
It's that which gives light must endure burning. That's what it means to be a Sensei. And if you cannot take on that responsibility, it's one of my favorite sayings. It sums up exactly how I feel about being a Sensei. It's a hard burden. You will have people telling you their darkest secrets, coming to you for help. Last night, we were dealing with a student who's very ill with COVID, trying to get him to hospital at 3:00 in the morning. These are the things you deal with as a Sensei. And the role models and the places we can, the example we can set, that's why I will never go back to working in corporate. I worked in corporate for many years. I was a good little copywriting, good little colleague. I could do that game very well. I could go back to advertising and earn way more money than I'm earning now. Lots more. I could quadruple my salary. That's not the point. You're here because you know that karate can bring massive value to people's lives. And I'm here for the same reason. And if what we can do is make more girls feel welcome, more differently abled people feel welcome, minority groups, queer kids, we want them all to feel like there's a part and a place for them in the dojo. And that's why I so appreciate the work you do with the books you write and the articles you write. That's the difference. Anyone can be a tournament sensei, dish out gradings, be a McDojo, make money, sell t-shirts, sell 6 gradings a year, and treat your students like customers. That's easy. Anyone can do that. A lot of instructors do.
How I have no knowledge of systems in South Africa. I'm not very good with geography, and I'm not, how to say it, not that interested in how the different countries doing stuff. I try to focus on my stuff here.
Yes.
How is the treatment of disabled people or less able or different able people in South Africa? Because in UK it's changing, but the COVID, I was just reading, I feel I shared the article yesterday, that COVID push us back about 10 to
Very
30
much so.
years back, because the people with mental health and disability have been left alone. Their appointments been cancelled. Nothing's happening for them. 3 of my students have a massive breakdowns through the lockdown. Only now they just, the first message now after nearly 2 years is, listen, I've been really bad, but I'll be back. So how the treatment of people of mental health and abilities is in South Africa?
So unfortunately, we are very resource scarce. I think about how we have very few mental institutions. There's massive social stigma around talking about mental illness, culturally, whether across all our cultures, actually. South Africans are just very like stoic, and you know, it's about boer maak 'n plan, which is the Afrikaans, so like a farmer makes a plan, like you just deal with it. There's no like softness of character. You know, we have a very, I think it's part of being like partly a pioneering country. We have some of the same attitudes as the Americans, that, you know, the pioneers and the trekkers, the groot trek and the Afrikaans walked from one end of the country to the other. So we don't have a lot of resources. And like, I know a couple of lecturers who teach at the university, and they're students of ours, and they've had students commit suicide because they were told there's just no resources. The counselors are slammed, the hospitals are slammed, there's no money. You know, by law, under our constitution, you actually have, by law, we're supposed to have access for free, especially if you're underprivileged. Underprivileged kids have the right to attend a special needs school for free within their area, but there's not a lot of those schools. And then when there's funding crises, you know, the first thing that always gets cut is education, education and healthcare. So, yeah, I think we've also taken a few steps backwards now because of COVID with the massive job losses. And we reckon we've lost 7 million jobs. Right. So it's heavy. And I wish we had more resources to make our dojos more friendly to disabled people, like training. I would love to know or be able to access further education on how I can be a better and more inclusive instructor. No, we're very much learning on the fly, how we can, and like it's the same way. One of the things I wish we could import from Australia is their mental health first aid course. They have a first aid course for it. You can get a qualification. That makes so much sense.
Yes, in UK as well. I just found, I'm just joined the college for their course, and it's funded by government, so it's all
fantastic.
So I send you some resources because there's a section called UK Coaching, and they've got online.
Yes, UK Coaching, they're great.
Yeah. They've got lots of free resources for mental health. There is as well free psychological first aid in UK. I'm gonna dig that up and find it because I done it, and I think not geographically locked, so I think everybody can do it. But I'm not sure about that. But I'm gonna actually
the one advantage. Drop it, and we'll drop it in the links for anyone else, because this is one of the biggest issues. You know, it's something I'm working on actually. So Australia actually leads the way in a lot of this stuff on a child protection policy document. There's no such thing in South African karate on child protection and safeguarding. I know the UK, I've been using some documents from the UK about what to do if a child approaches you that says they're being sexually abused at home. What is your duty? What is your care of duty to that student? Or how do you deal with a student who is mentally ill? So I unfortunately had a student commit suicide. She was 12 years old. And because of that, I'm very driven to make sure that we hear these kids and that we know what to do if we see something. You know, if you see something, say something. But we have no formal training for this. You know, it should be something that should be taught when you're in high school, how to recognize your friend is not well. How do you approach an adult for help? You know, you can't just sit there and be like, well, the adults will shout at us. It's the same thing in the dojo. Sometimes we see these kids in a way their parents don't see them. We spend only 2 hours a week, but they open up. So often my husband has been asked to step in as a father figure. I can't get through to them. Maybe you can say something. And they're like, they tell their kids, if you have a problem, tell sensei. Maybe if you don't want to talk to me, talk to sensei. So I wish we had more resources to learn how to be better instructors. And our course to become an instructor for our particular provincial group is a 3-year intensive course with level 3 first aid training. With you have to write a thesis. You must do a couple 100 hours teaching time. We are very rigorous, and I still wish I knew more.
Sure, but I think that's the good mark of the instructor, that it never ends. You find one information and the other avenue opens for you. Or I didn't realize that the avenue was there to learn, so I'm going there. So I always hated being in school since I was 20, and since I was 20, I decided I never leave the school. So I've got 2 little children running a business. I have no time. So what I do, I join the college. So at nights I'm gonna be studying now, and
that's fantastic.
That's going all the time. I call myself a qualification collector. I just go another one. My wife said, "Why do you need that? You've got so many." Well, but I like learning. It keeps me on the ball.
No, it absolutely keeps us young and keeps us, what's going on. There's so many things that are changing all the time. Like, I feel if I didn't teach teens, I would have no idea what's going on in the world, because they'll use a phrase, or they'll be like, send me a TikTok on what's cool. So at least I feel like I'm not a stranger to them when they use phrases. I'm like, and I have to go Google it on Urban Dictionary. Like, what does yeet mean? And sometimes you feel like you're being aged out of your own generation by the kids coming up from below us. But they're awesome. I think the kids are all right. I think, look at the kids now, and they're so much more sophisticated. When I was their age, I had no idea about queer identities, and they're much more chilled and relaxed with that. And I think it's so awesome. They have so much to teach us, I don't know. I love being sensei. The only hard part is you always sensei. When you post on social media, when you go home, when you're in the dojo, you can never take it off if you take it seriously. So that sometimes is very hard.
But
I have to think of them for young girls. So I'm very, very careful to talk about or about my weight. It's a very hard to not talk about weight in front of girls, because I grew up like that. We were all growing up in the 90s and noughties, where Thin and Heroin Chic and Baywatch and Pam Anderson and Playboy was so big that we were all very much conditioned 20 years ago, because I'm 35. So in my teenage years, there was the height of that heroin chic look. Being thin it's very hard to unlearn that. So I struggle when I'm in the dojo and I'm like, I feel so fat today. What a stupid thing to say. But you say stupid things because they are hard habits to unlearn. So I'm trying to also not have my female students think, if sensei worries about her weight, maybe I should worry about my weight. Yeah. Like, I was so upset about how much weight I gained after having a baby. I gave birth. I had a human life grow inside me. Of course, you need extra weight to do that healthily.
Yeah.
So, the worst enemies are the ones. No, WhatsApp. Why are you being rude now?
I can hear you.
Go away. Okay. Am I back today?
Yeah.
Back?
Yeah, you're back.
Yay. They say the worst enemy is the one with outposts inside your own head. Yeah. And that's the demons we're all dealing with as instructors, that we try not to pass on to the next generation.
Yes, that's very well said. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. I was
Liz, I could talk for hours with you. What a pleasure.
Just perfect unplanned conversation. That's the ones that I enjoy the most. I'm rubbish on planning and executing it. So it was
no, planning is for perfectionists. All our YouTube videos are winged. We never script. We don't plan anything. We go to the dojo. I'm like, what are you going to do? And Shay's like, I don't know. 5 minutes later, he's like, now we will do kurun for bunkai. I'm like, okay. All right, that's what we're filming today. So it's the spontaneity. I try to think of it as being spontaneous and not like poor time management.
Yeah. Can you share where we can find more information about you, your style?
Absolutely.
YouTube's and all of what you want to throw.
Yeah. So Our YouTube channel is Goju Ryu Karate Center, but if you put in Goju Ryu Karate Center, it'll pop up. It's a kicking man, white and black logo. You can find my stuff on zoehinnis.com, and our dojo is grkc1978.com. But I will send all of our social links. And Sensei Liz, for my channel, where can everyone find you?
Oh,
I know you said no titles, but to me, you are Sensei because you are
thank you,
teaching me many things.
Best to find me on www.lesbubka.co.uk and everything with Les Bubka Karate Jutsu, because we rebranded recently and decided to use my name. That should take you to every link possible.
No, your website's beautifully arranged, by the way. I actually need to upgrade ours a bit.
I done it all myself. No, I'm lying. My wife done everything because I am computer illiterate, and I have to go say, honey, can you do this? When do you need it?
She's exactly the same.
Yeah, she's.
What's that phrase? Karate wife, hard life.
Yeah, well, I can't.
I don't even know who came up with it, but
I can't complain.
No, you married well. Well done.
Yeah.
Engineer, super smart.
Yeah, way smarter than I am. So at least we got the one person who knows what she's doing at home. So. All right. Thank you very much. I hope.
Thank you so much.
Lovely weekend and
you too.
See you soon.